Hi there, my name is Jessica and welcome to my majestical world. And this is my final video in my Hope in Staying Home for the Holiday series. If you have watched all of my videos in this series, thank you so much. And if you've subscribed, I really appreciate it. And if you haven't, go ahead and hit the subscribe button for future videos on seeing, knowing, and creating the beauty around us, for us, and in us. This video is dedicated to my nieces and nephews back in Alabama, Bella, Olivia, Eli, Gabe, Brooks, Killian, and Lillian. I would do anything to be able to hold you and read to you a Christmas story. And this holiday season, I have been reminded that it's the simple things in life and it's the daily mundane things that we do together that make the holidays special. So this video is a simple story time video, and I hope that it reminds you of the beauty that you have within you and the power that you have to create a beautiful world. After I read the Christmas Carol, I will be sharing with you one of my favorite Christmas memories. So grab a blanket, maybe a cup of hot tea, and settle in for story time. A Christmas Carol adopted by Joanna Spathis, and this version is illustrated by Lydia Halverson. Ebenezer Scrooge hunched over his account books while his clerk Bob Cratchit huddled at a desk in the outer office, nearly frozen. "I've come to invite you for Christmas dinner," said Scrooge's nephew Fred, as he cheerfully entered the office. "Bah humbug," muttered Scrooge. "You're wasting my time." When Fred opened the door to leave, the sound of carolers filled the office. Scrooge banged his window open. "You there!" Scrooge shouted down to the carolers. "Find another street for your noise." Cratchit tapped on Scrooge's door. "I finished the letters and paperwork." "If your work is finished, you may leave," said Scrooge. "Mr. Scrooge," said Cratchit, "tomorrow is Christmas." "You'd like the day off?" Scrooge asked. "It is Christmas, sir," said Cratchit. "Fine. Take tomorrow off." Scrooge shook his head. "But be here early the next day." "Yes, sir," Cratchit said. "Merry Christmas." "Humbug," growled Scrooge. Bob Cratchit scurried out at the corner. Boys were sledding. Cratchit leaped onto one of the sleds, slid to the bottom of the hill. "Fool," Scrooge scowled. Scrooge trudged home and ate his dinner alone by the fire. Clank! Scrooge froze. Clank! He rubbed his eyes. "This isn't a dream, Ebenezer," a voice echoed through Scrooge's bedroom. A man, pale and ghostly, drifted into the room. It was Scrooge's old business partner. "Jacob Marley?" Scrooge said. But you're dead." The ghost nodded. "And paying for my sins. All I did was work. I never learned the value of love. Now I wander the earth, unable to find peace. The same fate awaits you, Ebenezer, unless you change your ways. 3 spirits will visit. The first will arrive when the clock strikes 1. Bong! The clock struck 1. Scrooge peeked out from beneath his sheets. A shimmering woman stood beside his bed. "I am the ghost of Christmas past," she said. The room dissolved, and Scrooge was staring into the window of another room. That's me as a child," said Scrooge. "It was Christmas," the ghost explained. "Where were your parents?" "Working," Scrooge whispered. "They worked hard to give me what I needed." "Did they give you what you needed?" The boy looked well fed, but his eyes were sad. "I don't know," Scrooge said. "We have many places to visit," said the ghost. "Come." The house faded, and in its place stood an office. "I worked here," said Scrooge. "I was apprentice at Mr. Fezziwig." "Stop your work," announced Mr. Fezziwig. "It's Christmas Eve." A fiddler began to play. Mr. Fezziwig and his wife danced a lively jig. The ghost glanced at Scrooge. "This certainly isn't the firm of Scrooge and Marley, is it? Do you recognize the clerk?" "It's me," Scrooge whispered. The young Scrooge clapped. His eyes were bright, his cheeks pink, so different from Scrooge's own clerk, Bob Cratchit. The music faded. Fezziwig's office dissolved into darkness. "We have one more stop," said the ghost. The ghost waved her arms. Scrooge saw his younger self again, sitting beside a woman. "I can't marry you, Ebenezer," the woman cried. "You love money more than you love me." Suddenly, Scrooge could see the woman was a few years older. She was in a parlor that had been brightly decorated for Christmas, children playing at her feet. "Her children?" Scrooge asked. The ghost nodded. "They could have been yours." A man entered the parlor, his arms filled with presents. The children ran to hug him. The man leaned down and kissed his wife. "Stop!" Scrooge cried. "Take me home." Bong! Bong! The clock struck 2. A man, glowing and transparent, stared down at Scrooge. "I am the ghost of Christmas present," he said. "Come." The bedroom vanished and Scrooge found himself on a snowy, busy street. "Everyone looks so happy," said Scrooge. "It's Christmas," said the ghost. Scrooge shook his head. "You mean they all woke up happy because it's Christmas?" "Yes," the ghost said. "Today everyone enjoys their blessings. Can you do that?" Scrooge closed his eyes. The aroma of freshly baked bread filled the morning air. Scrooge realized he was smiling. The ghost led Scrooge into a tiny house. A man sat with his children. The man looked up. It was Scrooge's clerk, Bob Cratchit. "Cratchit lives here?" Scrooge whispered. The ghost nodded. A woman carried a platter to the table. "Their turkey is nothing but bones," Scrooge said. Bob Cratchit carried a boy to the table. The boy was thin and carried a crutch. "What's wrong with him?" Scrooge asked. "Tiny Tim is sick," said the ghost. "They don't have money for a doctor. If the future remains unchanged, he will die." Tiny Tim raised his cup. "Merry Christmas. God bless us, everyone." "There must be something we can do for the boy," Scrooge said. "Perhaps," said the ghost, as he led Scrooge from the house. Scrooge found himself entering another dining room, one he recognized. "My nephew's house," said Scrooge. The party guests were taking turns imitating well-known people. Fred said, "Guess who I am?" And he pulled coins from his pocket, counted them, and muttered, "Christmas! Humbug!" "Ebenezer Scrooge!" shouted a man. "They're making fun of me," said Scrooge. "And they always will, unless the future changes," said the ghost, fading away. Bong! 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 Another ghost floated into the room. He wore a black cloak. "Who are you?" Scrooge asked. The phantom said nothing. "You must be the ghost of Christmas yet to come," said Scrooge. "Are you here to teach me how to change?" Scrooge followed the ghost to the streets in front of the office. The windows were dark. 3 men stood out front. "I know those fellows," said Scrooge. "We're quite friendly." "Old Scrooge," said one of the men. "He must be near death if he's closed up shop." "If I know Ebenezer," said another man, "he'll work through his own funeral." "Listen how they speak of me," sputtered Scrooge. "Why did you bring me here?" The ghost drifted down the street. "This is Cratchit's house," Scrooge said. "I've already been here." The spirit led Scrooge into a bedroom. Cratchit sat and held Tiny Tim's hand, crying. "They were happy last time I was here," whispered Scrooge. The bedroom door opened, and Miss Cratchit came in. "Did you talk to Mr. Scrooge?" she asked. "Will the old miser help us?" Bob Cratchit shook his head. "He said he won't help those who can't help themselves." "But Mr. Scrooge's nephew offered to help." "I pray it's not too late," Miss Cratchit wept. The ghost turned toward the door. "No!" cried Scrooge. "We must help him." The Cratchit's house faded, and they were outside. Clouds filled the sky, and an icy wind whipped through the trees. "This is a cemetery," said Scrooge. "Oh, no, not Tiny Tim. This can't be his grave." The ghost pointed at a new grave. A priest stood alone praying. "Where are the Cratchits?" Scrooge asked. "Why did no one come to the funeral?" The ghost pointed at the headstone. On it were 2 words: Ebenezer Scrooge. Scrooge turned to the ghost. "You must give me another chance to live." Scrooge opened his eyes. He was in his own room again. Scrooge scrambled from his bed. He flung open his window. The smell of bread drifted in the air. Horses clip-clopped over the cobblestone. "What day is this?" Scrooge asked a boy. "Christmas morning," the boy said. "Here, lad." Scrooge tossed a handful of coins to the boy. "There's a big turkey in the butcher shop. Deliver it to Bob Cratchit." The boy held up the coins. "But you've given me too much." "Keep the rest," Scrooge called. "Merry Christmas, my boy." "Thank you, sir," said the boy. "Merry Christmas to you, too." Scrooge dressed in his finest clothes and set off down the busy snowy street towards his nephew's house. A family hurried down the street towards the church, and Scrooge stopped to pat their young son on the head. Scrooge reached into his pocket for a coin and handed it to the boy. "Buy yourself some Christmas candy." The boy stared at the coin. "Thank you. Merry Christmas," said Scrooge. "Merry Christmas to you," said the boy's mother, "and God bless you." Scrooge hurried to his nephew's house. "Uncle," Fred cried, "have you come to celebrate the holiday with us?" "Yes," said Scrooge, "if you will have me." After dinner, Scrooge stood. "Thank you," he said. "I've never eaten a more delicious meal, but I have another stop to make." Scrooge hurried to Bob Cratchit's house. "Mr. Scrooge," said Miss Cratchit, "how can we thank you for this wonderful turkey?" Scrooge smiled. "By enjoying every bite." Scrooge turned to her husband. "Cratchit, it's time you got a raise." Tiny Tim would finally get the medical treatment he needed. Ebenezer Scrooge celebrated Christmas all year long. He even sang Christmas carols in July. And each time he sat down to a meal, he'd raise his glass in a toast. "God bless us," he'd say. "God bless us, everyone." So, I hope you enjoyed this story. It's one of my personal favorites. As long as we're breathing, we all have an opportunity every day to make new decisions to be the beauty and to be the joy in our own lives and in those around us. And so if you're not sleeping yet, now I'll share with you one of my favorite Christmas memories of my childhood. I was in the 1st grade. I had learned how to sing "Away in a Manger" to a new tune during that Christmas play. It was my first time to ever sing a solo. And if I remember correctly, I think I sang this same line about 5 times, and I don't think I actually finished the song. I was so nervous. But doing that, it taught me to get out of my comfort zone. But what I remembered the most about that Christmas was that Christmas play. Me and all of my cousins, my brother, but the message, even though I was in the 1st grade, I still remember the message of the Christmas play. In the play, the adults were busy wrapping presents. They were busy getting ready for all of the Christmas festivities and worrying about if they had checked off every to-do on their list. And they kept getting interrupted by either a knock on the door or a phone call of someone needing help in some way. And from what I remember, each time they met the need despite how they actually felt. And at the end of the play, my pawpaw, you're a great pawpaw for my nieces and nephews, he read a scripture out of the Bible that will always be one of my favorites. It will always resonate no matter how young or how old you are. By reading the same words is how I will leave you this holiday season. For I was hungry, and you gave me food. I was thirsty, and you gave me drink. I was a stranger, and you welcomed me. I was naked, and you clothed me. I was sick, and you visited me. I was in prison, and you came to me. Then the righteous will answer him, saying, Lord, when did we see you hungry and feed you, or thirsty and give you drink? And when did we see you a stranger and welcome you, or naked and clothe you? And when did we see you sick or in prison and visit you? And the king will answer them, Truly I say to you, as you did it to one of the least of these, my brothers, you did it to me. This year I was reminded that at some point we are all the least of these, and we all have the opportunity to be there for the least of these. And I'm so very grateful for the people that have been there for me during my time of being the least. And I look forward to being able to be the person that can be there for those that need some hope. Just remember, when you feel you have nothing else to give, you always have kindness. Merry Christmas.